a little bit lost on both of these guys. Exploration phases in split one of their OPL careers, so we'll see if they continue to develop that particular style. They find a new style. We don't know what they're going to do just yet.
Well, it all starts in the draft, so here we are for game number 1. Trident on the blue side, Hellions over on the red. Rise, Fiora banned away for Trident, so 2 Ryu champions taken away. And I guess Impaired's taking hits on the other sides because Nidalee's gotten banned, and Hellions with 1 more here do ban Ali, so 2 junglers out as well.
Yeah, focusing Impaired down right now, taking away his champions. You'd have to imagine Graves as a 3rd ban for Hellions, if anything, just because it's probably the strongest jungler potentially out of them.
Yeah, I mean, that could leave some interesting options open. We've seen, again, Rise still be banned a lot. GP's seeing a lot of attention, but Lulu, Lissandra, these sorts of champions. Corki's been another one. Plenty of options here for both sides, but looks like target bans everywhere. That is arguably a top lane ban as well in Poppy.
It's definitely still a ban that can be flexed for either lane, of course. You are right, the Gangplank is going to be left open, but something we've looked at from Trident so far is their champion pool and what they can actually play. So having the Gangplank available to Pac-Man and BMA, not actually likely that they can even play that champion between the two of them. And if I were Hellions, I would look to focus that jungle entirely and leave Gangplank open.
Well, let's see if they go with the Graves ban. It is going to be Lulu instead, so still a strong champion, but sort of taking away a laner rather than a jungler. So only 2 jungle bans for him.
Yeah, and I do like the Lulu ban. BMA is inclined to play it. Champion pool does kind of come into effect there. Can default to, say, an Orianna or an Ahri, and is a lot more predictable from here on out in that mid lane draft. And that actually comes back to Bomb as a big blessing in disguise because the man's got a beast Anivia.
Yeah, and Bomb kind of plays just about everything. One of the things I've heard from Ryu is that he picks up champions very quickly. He plays so many games, you know, has that very much that Korean discipline. But I feel like we haven't quite seen Bomb get unleashed yet, so today could be the day, but as expected, Impaired's happy to take Graves.
Yeah, so they take the Graves away, of course. Cookie has probably going to default to the Lee Sin, I would imagine, based off what he has played thus far. And this is one other champion we failed to mention in the draft was Corki.
Yep. We have seen a lot more of Corki, and it is a pickup there for Hellions. Corki Gangplank, that is a pretty scary first red side draft.
Corki is absolutely S tier at the moment. He is one of the best mid laners that can flex to AD carry as well. One of the few AD carries that does magic damage and scales with levels, which makes no sense for an AD carry because generally they're in the duo lane. So that's why we're seeing so much of him mid at the moment, and a smart decision to take that away. Of course, the GP with it mentioned that Trident might not be able to play it. Well, very obviously Hellions can.
Yep, and I'll take it here happily. We have seen Ryu play a game on it, I believe,
yes.
So a little bit of history there for the top laner. But Trident now considering their next 2 picks, 20 seconds for Impaired and BMA to pick up picks 2 and 3. We know what's sort of happening in the jungle, so where else do they want to go here? Kalista makes a lot of sense. It's been an addition champion. Looks like they might just complete the bottom lane here.
Yeah, it's not a bad decision. This is actually quite standard drafting from what we've seen at the moment. Jungler, then you pick your bottom lane, then you look to get at least 1 lane reveal from your opposition side who only gets the counter pick then of 1 role. And you actually get 1 of yours, so they do lock that away.
Yep, looks like Kalista Thresh, pretty standard stuff, still a very strong bottom lane. Seen a lot of Alistar, who currently is dropping through the draft, which is a bit interesting, but other than that, seems like Trident are doing what we expect, and that's play to comfort.
Yeah, absolutely right. The Kalista in particular is just the ultimate in comfort for Addition, who just loves that champion. Something that we didn't actually expect to see a lot of when you look at the Kalista changes on 6.1 onwards. Her laning phase feels a lot weaker with the inability to rend and actually keep her mana pool available. So just a lot more recalling now from his Kalista's lane swapping is actually reasonably favoured.
Yep, still good utility though, as Janna and Rek'Sai are the picks there. So Hellions still hiding a solo laner here. Could be GP mid, Corki bottom lane, which does leave Ryu's champion open. But yeah. I like what Hellions have done here. Again, sticking to what they know. Dedian's back on the Janna, and Frey's probably happy with Corki if that's what he gets.
It's moments like this you wish that BMA could play the Zed that we so aptly saw. He did flash it. Of course, we saw that picked against every single Gangplank from Legacy that they've played against so far. And, I mean, it's a smart decision. It completely takes it out. So an Assassin, something that can out-trade the GP, just keep him down, is where they'll have to go here. And not knowing what lane it's in does present that issue of where do we pick that? Can we afford to? Because our team composition kind of wants a tank at the moment.
Yeah, it does. So we'll see what Trident do want to go for. Again, we mentioned comfort. Pac-Man was known for their tanks. Has tried to step up a bit more to the carries, but I think we'll be happy to take just that champion. Seems pretty good at this point. Trident are going to stick to what they know by the looks of things. Victor Tom Kent should round this out.
Yeah, definitely will be, of course. BMA control mage specialist. Basically, he's going to pick up that Victor and do exactly that. Control the middle lane as best he can with all of his added wave clear. And the tank that was missing is going to be consolidated via Pac-Man. Pack-a-tank. you know, in the top lane. So they round out their team comp, I will say, quite nicely, because they do have a lot of damage across the board. The damage is reasonably mixed, and they do have front lines, so their team fighting will be pretty good. Yep,
but we have seen Hellions' success come from a lot of their team fights as well. So what is the final pick here from Hellions? And honestly, which lane is it going to? This is really strong drafting from Hellions. And you have to think about Bomb and how he likes to play. He's got Cassidy in the back pocket. It's a matchup he would be happy with.
It is a matchup that he would like. I will say that Victor's picked into Corki a fair bit and has quite a good success rate against that champion in the 1v1 matchup. So there's a chance now that they give the Corki to Frey and they do pick up something like the Cassidy or even an Anivia for Bomb just to give him that control in his lane.
Yep, we'll see what they want to go for. He's going to be Cassidy by the looks of things, so Bomb is going to take the Victor Cassidy matchup. That does leave Ryu with the Gangplank, and last piece of the puzzle, Frey will take the Corki.
Yeah, absolutely right, of course. This is such an interesting setup here, I will say, from Trident in particular. I feel like look, they should win from this draft, in my opinion, outside of laning phase. The problem is they're going to be playing against lanes where I would say I'm not actually happy with them having. This is a 50-50 mid lane matchup, right?
Yep.
But BMA goes on average 14 CS down at 10 minutes. He's in a lane where there's a lot of pressure because you have to try and outskill the player in a 1v1. ChuChuZ from Legacy, again, won this matchup on the Victor, but there's a chance because it can go either way. The Bomb brings it back.
Yeah, and then I guess then we look at the jungle pressure. We've heard about, impaired versus mid laners. Kind of feels like the story of Trident. Impaired, strong aggressive jungler here for the Graves, and Cookie actually moving back from the aggression a bit here with Rek'Sai instead.
Rek'Sai is a very uniquely strong champion in the way that you can control vision without having vision in place. The Tremor Sense unlocks your capabilities on either ganking, invading, roaming, doing whatever you would like. So having that on Cookie at the moment will be quite good at looking to deny Impaired above all else, honestly, because Impaired's the man you have to look at on Trident.
Yeah, it feels like every time we see a Rek'Sai, it's just like, I'm probably not going to fight you, unless you're Carbon, shout-outs. But as we are going to get ourselves loaded on, don't forget your hashtags, of course. Hashtag TryWin for Trident here in Game 1, or hashtag HLN win for Hellions. And don't forget, of course, the hashtag IamOPL for your general OPL Twitter lead. We've got the big competition. We've got 2 great best of 3s here tonight. This is going to be fun.
It's definitely going to be fun. A lot of questions need to be answered by these guys on both of these teams. Can Bomb, the mid laner of Hellions, step up and be that massive carry in this game that they actually need? Or can Impaired finally bring it back for his team in that direction?
Well, it does feel like it's a bit Impaired versus Bomb tonight, as we are going to get onto Summoner's Rift for Game 1 of Trident versus Hellions. Don't forget, we have 2 best of 3s tonight, so plenty of League of Legends action if you're just tuning in. But both these teams definitely looking to step things up and prove themselves here early on into the season. And this would be a great best of 3 and a great start here in the first game.
And one major stylistic difference that needs to be noted already is BMA's starting items. Of course, going for that Dark Seal, 25% increased healing on potions, but also essentially conceding himself to losing this lane early, knows that he's got the ranged advantage and can auto-attack and poke Bomb down, hoping to get to that 350 gold mark uncontested. Does delay the upgrade on his Hex Core, though.
Yeah, which could be a potential issue. It's actually the start we saw Fantix from Direwolves use on his Kassadin.
Yeah.
So like that sort of build, but again, same sort of theory, right? Want to be safe. Bomb, though, instead does have Corrupting Potion. Teleports everywhere, actually, in this matchup, as well as Addition and Jakey. I'm going to do... Oh, that's very cute. That's very, very cute.
Which part are you referring to in particular?
So, if you remember, and I'm sure you do, they changed the minions.
Yeah.
So that they're much nicer to each other. That is one of the few ways to try and pull the lane.
Yeah, definitely is, of course. Any small
Thank you, Carlin, for telling me that earlier.
Yes, of course. Any small amount of time where you can delay the minion wave, it gives you enough time to then do the wave yourself. And sorry, a jungle camp yourself, get a level advantage, come back in, and know that a single minion didn't die. If you're a fast clear jungle duo as a bot lane, you'll be okay to not have to do that, but it's always an added bonus to bring it back a little bit further in your direction.
Cute at the very least there. As things are going to start out in standard lanes, in fact. Addition and Jakey did tank the Krugs up for a bit, but they should be just fine. And Frey on the Corki this time around. You mentioned it already, S-tier pick around the world here. Normally in mid lane, but perfectly serviceable in bot as well.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the strengths is that it can be serviceable in more than one lane. Corki, crazy, crazy champion. And speaking of which, Denian on this Janna that was banned away from him in one of the games that they played because there's just no way to kill this bot lane.
Yep, they're going to stay very safe here as BMA getting aggressive early on, trying to push that Kassadin in, like you mentioned. Pretty even matchup here is going to rely on the player's knowledge here. Right now, BMA going to have the early advantage as Cassidy is going to need to ramp up a bit.
Yeah, absolutely will be. Of course, BMA hasn't used a potion just yet. Bomb falling to a slight disadvantage, you would have to say, but there's always kill threat if Cookie makes his way in. That flash unburrow is very dangerous, especially once Bomb hits level 3 and can force pulse.
Well, back in the bottom lane now, you can see level 2 hit everywhere, so nothing outrageous going to happen here. As in Cookie actually going to meet the enemy jungler. Does spot the crab now. He's going to spot Impaired, and Impaired just going straight in for him. Cookie will tunnel away from him, but Impaired looks to get this early neutral advantage.
Yeah, bullies him away from the Scuttle Crab, of course. Cookie's going to be fine. It's just a bit of extra gold in the back pocket. And the major difference between the two is that going for the Gromp opposed to going for the Scuttle Crab, the Gromp takes health from you. And Rek'Sai kind of wants to be as healthy as possible, so being able to get that Scuttle makes jungling a lot easier for you, especially ganking after you do a camp.
Well, Cookie is going to go back by the looks of things, so we'll see if he does want to pay some attention to these lanes, or simply keep the farm up. Impaired though, level 4 now, doing that Gravesinger flying through the jungle. He's going to spot a wall, but it's going to run straight into Bomb here. Bomb, a little bit overextended, gravity field's down, that'll force the flash, and BMA a little low on mana, but Impaired, nice force there.
Yeah, an easy flash forced out of Impaired with complete conviction, runs in, doesn't bother clearing the ward, and was, of course, notified that there was that ward there. So smart play from Impaired. Forcing out a flash on a Cassidy pre-level 6 could set him up for disaster.
Going to force the teleport here as well. Just Doran's Ring and Boots here for Bomb, as BMA will likely might have to use his in return, as he's looking to go back relatively soon, but Bomb, now without that summoner, is a potential target. Cassidy pre-6, always something junglers look to.
Yeah, and this is the kind of situation, looking at BMA's health and mana bar at the moment, where I almost would have had Cookie come straight to mid and dive him, just because there's nothing BMA could do.
Well, BMA going to go back now as bottom lane action is happening. Frey gets hooked in midair by Jakey, and first blood will go to the Thresh.
That was an unbelievable hook from Thresh as well, using the Flay, trying to bait out the Valkyrie for as long as possible, but the second he throws out the Flay, hits the hook, takes them down so very easily. I can't believe that hook connected. It was through a Jun and knock-up as well, so angle-wise it kind of looked a bit off, but smart play here from Trident's bottom lane. Nice kill.
Yeah, really nice stuff as Cookie now going to maybe look topside, but I think he might have been spotted out. He's going to go back towards the mid lane now instead, as Addition and Jakey, we mentioned both these teams in different ways, sort of looking for their next carries to really step up and solidify the team structure, and a surprise kill from the bottom lane.
Yeah, absolutely a surprise kill. Now Cookie's, no, he's just saying hi.
Yeah, it doesn't commit. Just fires out the Pro Seeker. Is going to move BMA over to that far right-hand side of the lane. And Pac-Man in top lane, still doing just fine here, farming up a Storm, but Ryu has gone back. He's got the Sheen, now got some boots as well, even a Pink Ward for a bit of extra vision. GP happily farming with just a slight edge over Pac-Man.
And you have to wager that's already a concern for Trident. Not being able to keep Ryu down on this gangplank of all champions in League of Legends. You don't want that one to scale that fast. And at the moment, by having that Sheen first item, that is complete confidence pick here from Ryu. And if he can continue to control this lane or just stay in control in this lane, then it starts to get rough.
Certainly could, as BMA did take the trip back and also use the teleport, worth noting. Cookie, though, going to donate blue over to Bomb, or going to try to. Hook is going to miss. Bomb will get his buff safely Impaired. Not quite enough vision to maybe try and steal it. And Cassidy successfully gets the donation.
The right idea, but just not there in time to actually look to take the blue away or do anything actionable whatsoever. They don't get anything, but it's a bit of free time, you know. Jake already won that bottom lane with a free hook, free kill, you know. Try and make it work elsewhere on the map, and then just come back to bottom.
Oh, look at what Bomb's doing now, though. This is where Cassidy can start to find traction in the matchup. Just getting aggressive. He has the blue buff, so just getting on top of that Victor, going to force him back once again here as Frey sneaking back into his own lane, but Impaired's already down here. In addition, doing a nice job zoning them away. Good tornado, though, from Denian. He's going to move Jakey out. Hook does land into the support. They are going to follow in for it. They move the Lantern in. The GP ulti's down. Denian looking low there as Cookie's going to join the lane. Impaired took so much damage coming in for that gank, but he will flash away to safety.
That GP ulti was massive from Ryu. Immediately throws that one down and forces Trident to disengage. A nice little combo from Jake again on this Thresh. He's showing that he has the mechanics and even the decision-making to go for the Janna above the Corki, who they did bait the Valkyrie from. If that was available, you might wager there could have been a kill.
And you can see Cookie actually back in again. Great Fates call from Addition. Just doesn't want anything to do with that. And actually going to go back in a little aggressive there from Thresh.
What are you
Cookie's
doing?
still here. Jakey going to play them away, but the damage is there. Flash on Borrow's going to be in, and Frey will pick up kill number 1. They'll chase down Addition, who doesn't have that many hops here. He will have all his summoners, but he hits the Phosphorus Bomb. He's still taking damage. He's going to flash out of the way. Looks for the outplay, but the shield's there from Denny, and he barely lives as Cookie claims his life.
That was a clutch exhaust from Denny, and of course, Addition tried his hardest to outplay. Didn't use those summoners. I was wondering when they were going to come out, and instead gets overconfident and baited in. Summoners available for Denny, and barely keeps them alive. That was close, but not enough.
Yeah, great play there from the Hellions bottom laners. BMA will pick up his blue buff now. We'll see this one again. I have to think Addition, he could have got out alive, but he wanted the big play.
It felt like slow motion, and you remember he's about to flash as the Unburrow comes out. Instead, goes for the kill. The problem was he actually hit Denny with the Q, and the exhaust was just enough to keep them both alive.
Oh, BMA though, as we do pop back in alive. Bombs force that ulti out actually in mid lane. Starting to force that Cassid and pressure. Rodovade is on the way relatively quickly. Got the Blasting Wand and the Ruby Crystal up already. And most notably, a 10 CS lead as BMA with no teleport is forced out of mid once again.
Yeah, this is not a great situation for BMA, and overall, fantastic one for Hellions. They're working around the bottom side of the map. Over-aggression from Jake caused that almost double kill for Addition to happen. And the turnaround 2 kills that go to Hellions that probably should not have in the first place, followed by mid lane winning for Bomb, is a massive shift in power. Gangplank's still scaling.
Yep.
Ryu loves split pushing. So if the rest of the map's winning, I mean, Hellions are in a comfortable position.
Yeah, and it's rare. We've seen a lot of late game prowess from them in their wins, but definitely questioning some of the laning and early games. So off to a decent start here. Only 400 gold up, but up nonetheless. Even Frey starting to catch back up in CS. He does have the package. He will use it. Just goes back for a bit of fun.
Yeah. I mean, I personally am still questioning BMA's item choice here. Going for the Dark Seal as his first item with the refillable potion kind of screams to me that he wasn't respecting the Cassid in this laning phase. Cookie could have actually just ganked him once and forced something negative. Instead, Bombs managed to do it in a one-on-one situation. And now he's got a Dark Seal that won't get any stacks on it anytime soon, and only recently picked up the upgraded Hex Core and had to go straight for boots after because he's being chased down.
Yeah, like you said, has delayed the upgrade, so things looking a bit tricky there in mid. As we can see, blue buff has worn off for Bomb a little while ago. BMA just drops his, and Bomb just going to go in for it. Why not?
Absolutely, why not? He is just at an advantage, and that CS discrepancy we mentioned, BMA at 10 minutes, averages 14 behind. Well, it's a lot more this game.
It's about 20 this time around as Bomb looking to assert continued dominance over this lane. Like you mentioned, didn't even need his jungler as Pac-Man. Another check-in with top lane. He's doing nicely on the CS front as well, but it's been, like you said, a lot of farming here in top side. Tahm certainly will scale, but so will Gangplank. You have to think, with 2 lanes looking good, top lane scaling, Hellions, like you said, very comfortable here. 11 minutes in as Cookie's even getting a bit aggressive. He's going to put some deep wards down into the enemy red side jungle and walk past a pink ward.
Yeah, of course, he's going to find that pink ward, going to take that one out of the map. And Trident need to show some respect now and a bit of caution in that bottom lane because they're at a player discrepancy. Beamer's farming the jungle because he's unable to lane against Bomb. And at 11 minutes, that's not what you want to hear. Usually the Cassidon outscales you in this middle lane and starts to really harass you down, but...
Well, you can see first competition entry. That is excellent stuff. This is the kind of thing we want there from at I'm Randy OCE. That is Spawn Key with Beard. Wonderful.
That is amazing.
As Cookie's taking the Dragon, by the way. Not as interesting as that tweet, unfortunately, but he will pick up Dragon 1 for his team effectively for free there. Hellions map control even looking good as Cookie just backs up through the tunnel he put down. He's got some
just clicked the tunnel. That's great.
Getting yelled at by a few Sentinels. Should be okay. As Bomb and BMA once again at it. Ulti dropped once more, and Bomb's like, sure, that'll do. Wait for that to wear off, maybe go back in. Has plenty of potion charges, and Rod of Ages very close to being finished here for the Cassidon.
But that's what BMA should have been doing from level 6 onwards. Just drop it down whenever there's no shield available for Bomb. Whenever he doesn't have his Q. Just throw it even when he's not in range to use the Q, just to put down that burst. Try and push the Cassidon lower and lower so he can't be as clever and poke you out himself.
Yep. Instead it is Bomb still with that initiative. Does pick up the blue buff as well as Impaired. Doesn't know there's a ward there yet, but they're sending 3 people total to the top. Or 2, I suppose, with Pac-Man going to help out. Ryu knows he's getting dived, though. Level 9 GP. does have his summoners up, and actually Trident have to back away from that attempt.
Impaired was eerily close to that ward that didn't actually proc the Raptor sense, and I feel like they stood there knowing that there was no ward. So Beamer walks up through that pathing and gets spotted by the ward. Anyway, that was really interesting.
Yeah, unfortunately that's twice now Impaired's had a visit, and that's twice now the same ward I believe has spotted him. So no success there in top lane, although farming up nicely from the jungle. Cookie though doing the same there with early items being finished up already for those junglers. Having a look, it is Rod of Ages done now for Bomb. Blade of the Ruin King on the way for addition. Frey though, like we said, has caught up nicely in CS after that early nice play from the Trident bottom side. And looks like it will be Trinity Force done as Blade does get completed. Pac-Man also in the top side. Sunfire Cape already online.
Yeah, and Addition still very comfortable with his itemization in comparison to that of Frey, who does want to spike. As Cookie's just going to say, what up?
Yeah, nice ward. Does see BMA with the blue buff, but Cassidy even cheating down towards the bottom side as Frey does have the Trinity Force completed. No package, unfortunately, but it feels like Hellions, if they want to get aggressive, they can start to exert pressure on the map, given the current item timings.
They definitely can. Of course, with that Trinity Force, a lot changes in this bottom lane, and even in the ability to siege and roam around the map here for Frey in particular. All they're waiting on now is Ryu, who you'd have to imagine is not going to be too far away. He does have the swiftness boots in comparison to that of Frey, who has a Janna instead.
It's very cute there from Bomb. Is continuing to poke BMA out of this mid lane. He's forced back again. No, does not finish the recall. But rank 2 ulti now as Bomb dings past level 11. And the pressure is just unrelenting here. In fact, he's grown that CS lead massively. Impaired will spot Cookie. Cookie going to go in for it. Impaired, all right, now knows what's up. I'm going to chase in for it. Teleport down as well. GP ulti's used, but they'll take the time against teleport. Pac-Man does cancel it. And Impaired, I think, lucky to get out alive there.
Pac-Man would have gained nothing from that teleport. All it was used for was to zone them away from Impaired, to give him a look at escaping, and it was successful. So a big cooldown wasted by Pac-Man, but of course to keep your teammate alive, definitely worth it here.
As Jakey now actually zoning Frey again, looking for the hook, will land it. Not going to follow in though. Addition with the blade, and with Impaired down toward the bottom side as well. Cookie also here, so it could be 3v3 time. Once again, Bomb just doesn't stop.
No, it won't stop again. That CS lead is growing and growing. Cookie.
Very nice play here from Impaired. Does bounce end of the line off the wall. Cookie going to get chased down as Impaired with red buff. Quick draws in, but not quite in range. Nice tunnel out from Cookie as Fate's Call back in the bottom side. Jakey needs to line up the hook, but he can't quite find the line. Frey and Denian do use some summoners there in a different exchange, but they'll get out safely.
Impaired putting a lot of emphasis towards this bottom lane now. Time spent and essentially time wasted, because Frey and Denian are going to be fine. 2 summoners used means they've still got half of their summoners available to them. And having a Janna with exhaust still means fairly unkillable for this Corki. And it's going to be difficult for Trident to look aggressively still.
And as we check back in the top lane, I guess that's the other half of that story, is that it's just, you know, some free farming as at Roman Kisa with another entry. That looks like some MS Paint top quality work.
That's amazing.
Excellent job, sir.
That is actually one of the best things I've ever seen. I just love the monobrow.
I also like the back left beard on Alawi there as well. Very subtle, very nice.
10 out of 10.
Look, keep them coming, guys. Absolutely loving the competition as we do pop back into the game after a quick and brief intermission, beard intermission. I don't even know.
Look, if that doesn't want to make Spawn get a beard, I don't know what will.
Pac-Man and Ryu, they're now going to fight it out. Does get eaten. Ryu gets out. Okay. Nice orange, actually. Didn't quite know how that one worked, but damage still there. Bomb backing onto BMA. He'll just chase him down. Gravity Field's there. He will get stunned. He just doesn't care.
No. He has a Q to deny a whole lot of magic damage and is able to walk away as... Oh, not quite.
A little late on the smoke screen there from Impaired. Pac-Man actually burns the ulti.
Impaired should have just ulted him instead to keep him under the turret. Pac-Man was already coming in, but they didn't pull the trigger. Only one member of the team pulled the trigger, and that was a big mistake from these guys. Potentially was a free kill.
Yeah, missed opportunity perhaps as Ryu still with the TP. He's going to walk back quite swiftly. Instead, as bottom side, Frey going to win the 2v2 that time.
And somehow, the Callista goes down to a Corki Janna. You would have to imagine over-aggression from Addition. Mispositions himself and gets punished for it. As, I mean, honestly, that's something that you don't expect to happen. Sure, Frey does a lot of damage on this Corki, especially with a Janna Eye of the Storm to buff him up, but at what point do they have catch potential on you?
Denny is going to get hooked up here to start things off on him. BMA having a fight on the top side, but Addition, just too aggressive there.
So much damage out of Frey, of course, hitting every single rocket also to boot. Enough to take him down, and once again, the exhaust from Denian is enough to actually bait them into over-aggression.
Pretty good summon as well. Cookie going to move in for it. Bomb wants BMA. Frey goes straight in for it, but Jakey with a nice hook is going to pick one out of the air, but now he's getting tower dive. Cookie happy to tank up everything as Pac-Man's joined in as well. Frey forced to flash himself out there as the NATO does go in onto Pac-Man. He's the next target. He gets knocked up. The Grey Health will get popped in, but he's going to have to flash over the side as well. Hellions, nice dive on mid.
Very smart dive here, working around that special delivery from Frey once again. It feels like they're going to finally focus that middle lane that has been suffering here. BMA does not have an answer in a 1v1, so dive him, take him down, and then once you have a team advantage with player numbers, actually just look for the objectives. And again, that was just such a simple execution on that dive. Pac-Man's teleport, I mean, looked good on paper, but then the team just gets here in time. Denian's there on this Janna to keep him alive. They push him out, force a flash, take the Dragon.
Yep. Easy stuff there for Hellions. There's 2-0 up now in Dragons. A tower in top side as well as Ryu was able to take that once again. I don't think I've seen him teleport yet. He doesn't need to with the ulti. His Bomb really wants to kill his lane opponent.
That was so aggressive from Bomb, just positioning on this map. They probably know now at this stage that he's a blue buff. And all they know on Trident is that they don't know where Bomb is. They don't have vision of that exact area. BMA is going to path aggressively towards his middle lane because he doesn't understand.
Orbs left side. Bomb and Cookie, here we go. BMA now going to back out. He doesn't have flash. He burnt it last time and Bomb jumps in on him. Tom Kent's going to come down. BMA pops the ulti, but Cookie's going to take him out. The gravity field will get the stun down and Pac-Man just has to run back to top lane.
It's good reactions from Pac-Man, but it's not going to be enough to keep his middle laner alive as Hellions, they've very much defined their condition of winning in this game, and that is to take BMA down and snowball their mid laner from this. This is the question mark we had coming into this game, Pastry Time. Can Impaired get something done? Or will Cookie and Bomb work together and actually take out BMA? Well, we know the answer now.
Yeah, not yet. Certainly is 20 minutes into the game. Bomb 1-0-1, 40 CS ahead of his lane opponent, and now level 13. Kassadin starting to get very powerful very quickly. And meanwhile on the top side, Insurance Policy Ryu just been hanging out, farming and ulting. In fact, he almost made it to the tier 2.
Absolutely. You have to keep in mind that Pac-Man has been using his ultimate to rotate around the map, and Ryu, he loves his split pushing, so that is all he has been doing. He can throw down the ultimate, still be relevant.
It's the ultimate Ryu split push champion. As GP still scaling up. Pac-Man nice and tanky, able to keep the wave back off the turret for now, but like you mentioned, whenever he has to leave the lane, feels that Ryu just gets closer and closer to that top inhibitor almost. Just unrelenting in the push.
200 CS at 20 minutes. Bomb is a massive Kassadin right now, and BMA is trying his absolute hardest to keep himself in this, but this is more than once right now that we've seen him confined to the Wolves. And honestly left to them as well.
Yeah, at this point certainly is 8 stacks on the rower. Bomb will get the blue buff as well. And you know the pressure will not stop. We'll check in though quickly with the bottom lane addition. Zeal now added in. So Hurricane on the way, of course, after the Blade of the Ruin King. Yeah. And Frey, it looks like Infinity Edge second. So nice and aggressive, very expensive, but very strong Corki build.
Absolutely expensive, but when you are a 2-1-2 Corki in comparison to your lane opponent here, and you have yourself a gold lead that is about the difference between items.
Shield in there, Impaired actually down as well. Fate's Call gets popped, teleport down onto Denian. He's going to be the first target. GP ulti as Denian does pop the ulti, but BMA's there with the TP actually. And Jakey, of all people, gets the support kill.
I don't know how Jakey managed to pick that one up, but again, the collapse. Trident this time, they put it together, and they get a pick. Of course, this is not the best situation. They're lucky that Ryu did have to go back to base for his Infinity Edge, so they don't get any top turret, they don't get the mid turret, and Trident, they actually just get themselves a free pick.
Well, Ryu walking down as well now, so could have a skirmish here under this bottom outer tower. Ryu has made it, tower still there. Nice and safe for now as you are going to keep chasing in. Cookie, he's going to get flayed away, but Frey is just going to chase in now. BMA hits a rocket. Cookie, insta flash on Borrow gets one as BMA falls down. Jakey trying to disengage the fight. as Impaired and Pac-Man are also on the flank. Damage is massive from the Graves, but Ryu putting down barrels. Pac-Man being a disruptive force, eats the Corki and shuts him down. Now Cookie gonna go hooked up, but here comes Bomb. Impaired, the first target there as Hellions look to turn things around. Cookie lowers, Pac-Man will get the shutdown. Ryu still kiting it around, but he does get eaten once again. But Pac-Man, Grey Health getting low. Jakey with another hook, lands it onto Bomb this time. That's a good hit if they can get it, but he rip walks out to safety. The barrels barely not enough to get kills. And Pac-Man left to his own devices. They will dive him if he stays. He takes the Lantern out, but Hellions will claim the tower.
A very long, very extended fight from both of these teams as it felt like the advantage went back and forth between them. Playing the numbers game here, Hellions and Trident, but of course, the end result is that sooner or later, the Kassadin comes into the fray and takes them all apart. As that's actually their AD carry, and we're going to watch him right now take apart one member of Trident. The GP has used a lot of his kegs, something to keep in mind, and they do nicely kill them as Impaired. Killed that one before he could explode. Potentially game changing, that particular keg kill. They come in, and this is honestly the Pac-Man show. He just takes apart every single member, almost single-handedly, just stands in front of their faces. Jake hits some good hooks, and Trident, they consolidate the best that they could, but eventually they still lost their turret.
Yeah, it just feels like Bomb maybe a little too strong at this point. GP finally joining a fight. Does look good for Hellions. You can see 2 Dragons up, 2 towers up now, and actually a very healthy gold lead. 5k up at 24 minutes. Nothing to scoff at. And Hellions starting to group a little more aggressively. Bomb with the TP back up. Looking for level 16, but he's starting to split push now. In fact, Ryu's pushing as well. Welcome to 1-3-1.
So we're running the 1-3-1. It's very difficult to kill a Corki Janna, especially with a front line of Rek'Sai, who is this tanky already. So at the moment, what is the answer from Hellions, or from Trident rather? They'll be content with having Pac-Man deal with the Kassadin. He does have magic resistance in place and a lot of health to his name. The thing is, if they send Victor or they send Kalista down to deal with Ryu on this gangplank, then I'm not sure how that's going to work out for Trident.
Oh, Pac-Man eats Bomb as he's actually going to force the flash and rip walk out.
That was like...
That was an excellent interaction.
It's the longest tongue in history to pull him back into that mouth.
Hellions does get the Dragon 3 though, starting to scale up there. And now the outer turret is Ryu's going to ulti topside. Trident will stand their ground and take it, but 3-1 the turret score now. And those Dragons scaling up especially. Bomb is just going to get annoying. He will. Finds BMA, cancels 2 backs. Impaired is going to go back though. Hellions not done, going to keep applying pressure to this mid lane, and Ryu's down bottom side as well.
Yeah, that bottom turret of all things is most likely to fall. The numbers advantage for Ryu and the rest of Hellions being able to split push around the map starting to pay off for them, as that's one of the first turrets to fall down for these guys, and the cascade of gold does commence for Hellions.
Certainly does. There's 7,000 gold up in this game now. Trident, as Hellions are looking to recall, trying to answer some of this back, but Deniant will play gatekeeper to this outer mid turret. Frey in reserve as well, able to easily clear those minions out of the way. And it feels like the Hellions team comp starting to get unlocked a little more now as we enter that mid game.
Yeah.
Talked about the 1-3-1 already. Still 2 TPs up. Hellions, if they want, can go straight back to that formation.
Well, the best thing is that they've got expensive item builds. The Trinity Force Infinity Edge is disgustingly expensive, but they've both already got those items and they're at a lead by the time they had them. So now they're not only ahead by 7k or 6k gold rather, they're now further ahead essentially from their itemization.
As we do see even more tweets at Cougar. Very nice one there, with a very luscious looking Gragas beard on spawn.
Hillbilly spawn. I like it. I like it a lot.
Well, I like this as well. Hellions Bomb still in top side, still scaling up. And happy to take the farm, like I mentioned. Level 16, very key. Sonya's on the way as well, so the hyper-scaling Kassadin will continue to do so. Impaired will miss that Q. Pink wall cleared though. Looks like Baron Vision starting to get moved over. Trident currently with Vision on the area, as Impaired's going to take away the Scuttle Crab here as well.
Yeah, looking to set up that Vision around the Baron. They know where the focus point's going to be. If not for just themselves, then for Hellions. As realistically, I think Hellions are going to be committed to this 1-3-1. Their frontline Cookie, not the most reliable engage in the world. They have a Janna to boot, so realistically, they've established a big enough gold lead that they could still look at team fighting. But if they can find free gold by split pushing and small advantages by doing so, then why not while you can?
Yeah, seems to be working out so far. Hellions still playing to the tune of about 7k up. As Cookie is going to clear away some wards here in the Baron area. 4 turrets to 1, still a good score, but definitely available gold for Trident on the map if they can start getting a bit more traction. The real worry is that Hellions just keep pushing, and all of a sudden, 6 towers down, all the tier 2's gone, and suddenly your inhibitors are getting threatened. So we do have another tweet. Whether or not Trio Hellion wins, I think we can all agree Spawn Lol's beard lost.
Yeah, I think you should all tweet your disgust at him for it as well. Just quietly. I don't know.
Tell them Rusty sent you.
Rusty sent his regards.
Reuse another one in top lane. Looks like Pac-Man is actually challenging Kassadin. So should be just fine here. Bomb happy to clear this out. But I guess the question there is if they're sending BMA, who does have the other teleport on Trident, can he challenge the Gangplank, who's got Essence Reaver done now as well, in case the build wasn't expensive enough already?
Look, can a Victor deal with this much physical damage straight into your face?
With an Abyssal Scepter?
It's unlikely that he can. What we're looking for, though, is Ryu actually showing his Gangplank mechanical ability and connecting the kegs, because Beamer's got wave clear. That's all Beamer needs to do, is wave clear. But if Ryu can actually out-trade him, which is entirely possible, then we'll see.
Bomb remembers what happened last time. Does not want to get eaten once again by Pac-Man.
No.
Will Riff walk out to safely. Still have everyone defending their requisite lanes. Good damage though. Ryu going to chase in. Does Q him down. No crit on that one, I don't think.
No, and he also auto-attacked the keg for the Q immediately after, so not the maximum amount of damage. Bit of RNG coming into play there, but showing that he does have burst. Especially if that keg connects.
Well, Ryla's actually picked up now for BMA. So, see if that health can maybe help him out, but good utility on the item as well. Frey, busy taking the Raptor, is going to leave it as Impaired. It's just off to the side. Oh, Frey actually maybe going to pay for it. Does force a Valkyrie. Nice play from Impaired.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking a chunk of health off Frey is a pretty big deal, because this is the 3-man. Makes life a lot harder.
Here comes the play perhaps. Cookie actually off to the side. Did see the blue buff, but Pac-Man is going to move in with that ultimate. Denian's now down there as well. He actually could be the target. His Addition's going to come in up as well. Fate's Call used Addition looking for it, but good flash out there from Denian. Did have to burn the ulti as well, but Trident able to defend their blue and their top lane tower.
I have absolutely no idea what Denian was doing. He saw Pac-Man using that ultimate. He saw that the hook didn't connect onto Cookie, and then walked next to the Tahm Kench's face. And was like, sup, man? And then almost died. Had to flash an ult for it. I'm not sold on that strategy. Of course, Frey did still need to recall, so they can reset a bit more here, Hellions. And of all teams, we know that they're comfortable with their late game team fighting, and they are working towards their penetration items now, you would have to imagine. Yeah,
well, they've got 3 items now on all the carries, and they do have 3 pretty big ones. We talked about the Essence Reaver already for Ryu. We've got the Zhonya's now completed for Bomb, and the Rapid Fire Cannon up for Frey. You mentioned this already. Corki scaling with levels and items, pretty ridiculous. And the Dragon threat's still there as well. He's actually back up, and we sort of highlighted it offhanded when he picked up Dragon 3. But Cookie has essentially soloed 3 Dragons.
You know what the biggest deal right now between these teams is, though? Is levels. Bomb 17.
Yeah, he's massive here. He's going to Rift Walk out. The teleport down here. Hellions are going to try and force something for this Dragon number 4. They are going to start it. Trident, though, in position to attack.
They absolutely are. The question is, how will Trident execute this? A GP ult could change this fight.
There's the GP ult, massive zone. Bomb gets hooked out of the air, but he is going to move in for it. First kill down onto Addition. The Dragon goes over to Hellions as well. And Impaired with Hysteric's proc, he's going to try and run out, but he's going to get chased down. Ryu going to pick up the next kill, and Bomb is still chasing Pac-Man on the other front. Meanwhile, he's going to get taken out by Frey and Denny, and he eats the Janna. The Janna will survive. And that's almost an ace. Jakey and Beamer the only ones left.
And of course, Beamer taking that Dark Passage to safety from Jakey just there. But again, we said the GP Ultimate could be fight-changing. Exactly what it was. They came in as a group. They get AoE down against this Corki poke and the GP burst. And just like that, they lose the Dragon. That's now 4 Dragons to Hellions. 3 of them go down. And the middle turret.
Yep, lose another turret as well. That's 5-1 now down in structures for Trident as Hellions are actually going to commit to this Baron. There are some blue wards in the back. They will get cleared. Denian fairly low, but still plenty of time left on Impaired. Pac-Man not up yet either. Denian's going to use the ulti for a reset, and Hellions get Baron out of that as well.
Absolutely massive swing here for Hellions. They were ahead by a large margin, but that just doubled almost in the space of 2 minutes. And honestly, Trident, they didn't execute that fight in the right way that they should have. BMA didn't get enough burst down at the start. And look at him, he's just zoned. They have to put everything on Bomb, and he used the Zonias to dodge it all. And then, really, Bomb just works towards Pac-Man to keep him out of the way, keep Frey alive, and then they just assassinate. This is one of the most mobile points for a Cassidy. This isn't the point where Trident should finally be looking to team fight. Should have been before.
Well, certainly does cost them a lot there. As Hellions almost 12,000 gold ahead now in this game. Well and truly scaled up and looking strong, and they've got so many options. Baron up for them, Dragon 5 whenever it comes around if they want that. And we talked about Hellions early game looking improved. We did have a bit of a lull in the mid game as they were trusting in the split pushing and the scaling, but it does feel like when Hellions need to pull the go button on a 5v5, they do know how to execute.
They definitely do, of course. We just saw the proof of that there, and even in their last best of 3 series, they managed to get to the team fighting stage against Infernum and successfully take them down. Of course, Hellions, they can easily go back to this split pushing with a Baron buff and try and close the game out, or break inhibitors, most importantly, with this method. Pac-Man still going to be able to keep Bomb down, though, you would imagine.
Yeah, should be okay there, as he's just going to keep him occupied. Poke coming in from the Corki as well. Don't forget Frey, now the QSS looking just fine there.
It's also a sheen on Pac-Man.
Yes, it is.
Going for the Frozen Fist.
I guess so. Even more annoying. As Ryu going to take his tower out. Arms the barrel, shoots it. Creep wave down, and that's 6 turrets now for Hellions. All the outers and all the tier 2s are now gone. It is just the base left here. Trident are going to need to hold on to these base structures, or Hellions are going to storm right through the front.
They definitely are knocking at the front door at least. Desperation already.
They want Ryu. They are going to move in for it, but he's going to try and get out. Great juke of the hook, and that's it. Time control to use, and Hellions died mid lane. They'll break the center. Bomb going to chase down Impaired, and he's going to keep going. Addition eats a whack to the face and almost dies as a result. Bomb maybe a bit too aggressive. The inhibitor still alive as Cookie going to get caught out and hooked up, but the damage is there. They're still moving in for it. Frey will get the inhib. Rek'Sai will die as a trade there. Pac-Man, though, looking a little unhealthy. Hellions looking to disengage and will. But good NATO actually as Additions has to be eaten by Pac-Man. Now Frey gets himself out. Valkyrie's out from under the ulti. But Hellions got what they wanted. They broke the middle of the base.
Yeah, it was good target selection from Frey to ensure they do get the inhibitor before they move away and disengage. Of course, Bomb over-aggressive with very good reason, as he can just casually walk it out. Here's a Cassidy after all, and a level 18 one at that. So many turrets now falling, and the hardest part is breaking this base with the composition that they have. Trident feels so desperate. I like the conviction and the attempting to gauge onto Ryu, but the fact that they didn't take him down means immediately.
And Ryu, his massive bomb. Does not have a death cap yet, by the way. I'm not sure we're going to get to that point, but he does have the blasting one ready to go. Ryu also, Ghostblade Zeal, has so much crit. Yeah. Is that too much crit? It looks like too much crit, but I think he's okay.
No.
No, we're good?
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, look, I trust your math much more than mine. I promise you that.
I don't think he's even at 100.
That's disappointing.
Yeah. I think he's got 80.
Well, Phantom Dancer now for Ryu. Have to readjust.
No, it's 100.
There we go.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't see Essence Raven for a second.
Okay.
Forgot it had crit.
Yeah. Well, got plenty of good stuff now. There's Ryu. Full build. Everything done there. Bomb on the way. Hellions are holding this red buff now. Impaired wants to make sure it's his. Does technically belong to him as Ryu going to chase down Addition. It's done. This takes him out. The Fate Skull will not complete. Ryu, Orange is out of the hook. TP down in here as well for Bomb. Ryu will chase out now. Bomb's looking for the flank. Pac-Man has eaten a carry. He's going to move himself out with the Dark Passage, but Bomb looking to keep chasing. Will force the flash out of Victor.
Ryu's still
in. He's just still going. Ryu looking around the side. Sets up the Kex. Bomb. Huge ulti there as the AoE comes out, and people drop everywhere as Ryu is going to move for the dive. Beamer gets absolutely evaporated. That's the ace. The double kill comes out from Bomb at the end, and Hellions will claim game number 1.
Never give Hellions the lead in the early game. BMA really a big struggling point in this particular one here. And Bomb and the rest of Hellions, they work around their strengths and they run over this Trident lineup.
We talked about comfort for both sides there, and Hellions, strong pick, strong game plan, great drafting, And for once, it feels like the execution was finally there.
Absolutely. Honestly, that last team fight even just came down to Ryu getting a solo kill, getting out alive, and then coming back in for the second fight, showing absolute confidence in his team. And overall, Hellions, they're starting to pick up their strength.
Certainly are, and that's a great game one for that, but we are going to break it down further. Let's pop back over to the analyst desk.
Thank you so much, Julian. That was a very impressive game out of Hellions, but I want to take it back to the start. You know, both teams drafted very confidently, but it was more where Trident put their focus down in that bottom lane, looking to get themselves ahead.
I mean, they picked Kalista Thresh early. It's a kill lane, 100%. Best kill lane in the game. Their intentions were clear.
Yeah, of course. They made it work early on. They managed to pick up that first blood, but once again, the Denian factor just comes up trumps.
And you actually mentioned it. We've got a replay for you guys to pull up on your screen. And Denian just seems like they got ahead. It was fantastic, but they weren't that far ahead. And they just went for a weird turret dive. As we pull the replay up on your screen, it was... Carbon, take us through this one because it was a bit overzealous.
I mean, they got denied here, didn't they? Look, I think it's honestly just a mindset thing. I mean, they did get the first blood, but they come in here, they throw Thresh at the tower basically with nothing. He didn't even play, I don't think. And I don't know, they just get bopped. They think, well, we got a free kill. Let's go back. Try it again. Almost a very nice outplay here by Addition. That was so close. A pity, but definitely a massive mistake on the part of Trident.
Yeah, it certainly was. And the thing that I want to point out there is two things. The mindset, obviously, of what was Trident's bottom lane. Because even when Addition was like, I can maybe flash away from this, he went for the, I'm going to outplay, and this is going to be what gets my team ahead. And the constant revisits from Impaired down into that bottom lane, we were speaking about it. Even after that 2v3 went awry, they still continue to go down there and see if they can eke some sort of advantage.
I mean, I do want to give Addition a little bit of credit there. We did speak before the game that Trident need a carry, and he clearly tried his best to do that there. Didn't work out, but at least he's trying.
Yeah, the thing I want to talk about is it looked a lot like desperation here from Trident. They may have been feeling the fact that, you know, towards the mid lane, BMA wasn't being able to find any room to move against Bomb. Like, things were looking horrible there, of course. In the top lane, Ryu just free farming, gangplank. He puts a timer on you. The really, really scary thing is they're looking at a Kassadin and a gangplank, and they're like, we're Kalista Thresh. Holy crap, we're going to make something happen.
Yeah, and that was really the only winning lane. And the scary thing is they gave up a jungler which gets your lanes ahead in return for a jungler like Graves who needs to scale through the game. And we talked about this a lot. When we say Impaired, please play a jungler that can carry, we're not talking about a jungler that can 1v9. We're talking about a jungler that can get in there and impact the lanes.
I mean, we asked him to carry, and quite frankly, he was almost not there. He picks Graves and then farms for the first 15 minutes, and he was not even ahead of the Rek'Sai in CS.
Yeah, it certainly was not. And what it led to was these late-game team fights. We've got one at the Dragon Pit. This is, I guess, the big team fight that ultimately will win Hellions the game. And Atlas, take us through this because much more coordination out of the Hellions lineup.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. We are going to roll out the replay right now, and as you can see, it's the coordination. That's what this is all about. The ult goes down from GP. Immediately, you've got the Riftwalk in there from Bomb. So much damage down. You can see in the back line, Frey's able to get the work done with the poke, but it's all about Bomb moving around this fight with Ryu. Ryu teleported in very early on in that one, and they just clean it up so cleanly, and this is not what we were expecting from Hellions.
And that was a big difference, right? Ryu TP'd early. We didn't see that 40-minute split push that we saw in their last game. They had a plan. It was, we're going to set up for Dragon. Ryu comes ASAP prepared for this team fight. They execute a nice team fight, much better this week.
Yeah, it certainly was. And even towards the end of the game, when we saw that Ryu was much stronger than his counterpart, he was willing to get in there, gets a solo kill to start off the last team fight, rejoins in his team, picks up another one after that, and ultimately that did lead us to a Hellions victory. However, guys, we do have another game coming right up after this short break. Will be 3 minutes, but we'll be right back with game 2 between Hellions and Trident.